Still continuing at the Westgate shopping mall in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, where a number of Islamic militants are still believed to be holding out. Kenya's Interior Minister Joseph Ole Lenku says operations will continue cautiously. Almost all hostages have been freed and security forces are fully in control of the situation. Lenku also says that all the attackers were men, though some are dressed like women as a way to create confusion. Up to 15 gunmen took part in the assault. At least 62 people have died in the siege that started on Saturday. Now, our East African correspondent Sarah Kamani comes to us live from Nairobi. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Sarah. Can you hear us in Johannesburg? Well, unfortunately, Sarah Kamani, we seem to have a technical problem there at the moment. But for some analysis on what is happening in Kenya, we are joined in our Pretoria studio by Annelie Botha, a senior researcher on international crime in Africa at the Institute for Security Studies. Annelie has been in Kenya for the past 3 weeks. Good morning to you, Annelie.
Good morning, Eben.
Annelie, just tell us what, you've just come back from there, just tell us what is happening in Kenya and how should we interpret events that has happened over the weekend?
Well, I think since the involvement of Kenyan forces into Somalia, we saw quite a bit of an increase in a number of smaller incidents, hand grenade attacks. There have been a few larger incidents, but predominantly targeting churches and bars and restaurants. With this attack at a shopping mall, it showed tremendous planning. It showed basically it's really a reply towards Kenya's involvement in Somalia. And that is what I think we all feared will happen, especially keep in mind that Al-Shabaab retaliated when Uganda went into Somalia. We thought, you know what, something like this might happen, and also keep in mind that the ATPU, the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit in Kenya, managed to uncover quite a bit of plots that were at its last stages of before being implemented. So they haven't, it's not a question of a lack of trying. I think what we saw in this particular incident is they managed to succeed.
Now, Annelie, they really seem to have a foothold in Kenya, Al-Shabaab. How strong are they on the ground in Kenya?
Even it's very difficult to really give you an accurate answer. I think that if I would tell you exactly how strong Al-Shabaab in Somalia is, that a lot of people would ask me, where do you get your information from?
Yeah.
As for my sense, is that Al-Shabaab has been very active in recruiting not only Kenyan Somalis, but also Kenyan nationals in Kenya being involved in Al-Shabaab. Those being involved in these smaller incidents, these smaller hand grenades, are predominantly committed by Kenyans themselves. And that caused a lot of questions being asked by Kenyans of, do we really understand Al-Shabaab within our own country in itself? Because we always thought it must be people from the outside, Somalis or Somali Kenyans being involved in this. So I think it's very difficult to assess. I think that there's certain areas where Al-Shabaab do have a stronger footholding. We often hear about the Eastleigh area in Nairobi. We also, if you look at the type of activities going on around Kenya, the coastal region is definitely more of a concern, Mombasa, Lamu, Garissa. So there's certain areas where Al-Shabaab definitely have a stronger foothold. But to give you an answer of exactly how strong Al-Shabaab is, I can't tell you.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I wanted to also ask you, this kind of insurgency, it's really brutal in nature, and it's been the way they've been operating throughout East Africa, really. Is that simply that kind of shock and horror? Is that the way that they operate, Al-Shabaab?
Well, Al-Shabaab, as any terrorist organization, works and understands that you're only as relevant as your activities are. So the more you can strike and the harder you can strike and the more media attention you can get, the better you achieved your objective. So out of this, it is unfortunate that terrorist groups do operate and need terror to survive. And terror means that I have to go and I have to commit acts of terrorism against innocent civilians. yes, there's a bigger struggle in their mindset, but unfortunately, the way they interpret it is the only way we're going to get our message across is through the use of violence, and that's what we saw now in Kenya.
Now, Annie, we've seen that quite a few tourists were in the mall, and a South African was killed. East Africa in general and Kenya in particular now, is it becoming a dangerous place to travel to?
You know what? I love Eastern Africa. I've just came back from Nairobi, and if all goes well, we're going to be in Tanzania in a few weeks' time again for some time. I hope that people will not feel as if they should avoid traveling to Eastern Africa. I think it is, if one do that, you absolutely give in to terrorism. And I don't think we should give them that luxury and to say, you know what, we should achieve our objective. People changed their behavior and we intimidate them in doing that. I don't really think that this attack itself should be a measure of the level of security you find in Eastern Africa. I think security forces, police, intelligence, and with the support of the defense force in all of these countries, do a tremendous job in trying to provide for the security of their people. And I understand that terrorism is a reality that they have to live with and they have to counter. But we can't give in to the threats of terrorism. It will not be the best way to approach this.
It's always easy to have an opinion when you sit in the armchair at home and you're looking from the outside in. But you've been to Kenya recently. Do you think that the Kenyan authorities were, again, like they were at the airport, a little bit late to respond? And could they have handled the situation maybe a little bit better?
You know what, you're right. It's always easy to sit on a very comfortable chair and assess. I can, again, in all of these chaos, keep in mind whether it is at the airport, the burning at the airport, and again now the mall situation. Every situation is chaotic. I can't think of one scene that there is order and everything happened the way it's supposed to happen. It is chaotic. It is what we would like to see is we would like to measure to what extent that they turn the chaos into order. And I have to really say that I'm impressed with the way the Kenyan authorities dealt with as the situation progressed to take care of the situation, give that sense of order that they need to return based on not only in terms of the Kenyan president coming out and providing that, but also situation on the ground. I think we should give the Kenyan authorities a bit of, basically tell them, listen, you did good. It is a difficult situation to be in. You have to involve not only the police, you also have to involve the military. It's a multi-agency approach in dealing with the situation. And I would love to see what's going to happen following this incident in the investigation. I think a lot of recruitment, a lot of training went into equipping the police and the military in the past few years. So I think it's a good idea of, I think out of this will come good, not only the bad, as we see in terms of the loss of life.
Annelie Botha, Senior Researcher on International Crime in Africa at the Institute of Security Studies. Thank you very much. We're just going to go back to Sarah Kamani, who is now hopefully completely on the line. Are you with us, Sarah?
Yes, I'm here with you. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. I can hear you loud and clear.
We can now, Sarah. Just give us an update. The government says they're in control, but blasts and sporadic gunfire continued this morning. Are there still terrorists at large? Are there still hostages? What's the latest?
Well, what we know for sure is that the Kenyan government is saying that it is in control of the situation. However, inside the building, even as I speak, we can hear gunfire there. We are not sure who is firing at who. But from one of the vantage points that I went to, I could see Kenyan soldiers going in and out of the building, but I also saw firefighters inside there.
The nation must be in a state of shock right now, Sarah. How are Kenyans coming to terms with this tragedy?
Well, what has happened in the country is that this terrorist attack has united Kenyans. There's some form of unity in terms of grief. But as the day wears on, it's now going into the fourth day. There's a sense of impatience. A lot of Kenyans now actually coming to say that this could have been handled better. A lot of people saying that how did 10 people get into the country unnoticed, walk all the way to the Westgate Mall and nobody noticed them? And these are the questions that the Kenyan government will be grappling with. Also, you must remember that the alshabab has warned that it would be attacking Kenya. So a lot of people also asking, was the Kenyan intelligence caught napping once again?
Can we say now, Sarah, that al-Shabaab has a strong foothold in Kenya and will be a real threat in that country going forward?
Well, what we can say for sure is that the threat of terrorism across the East African region is real. But also we can say is that with the al-Shabaab having been beaten at home in Somalia by the African Union forces, if they are to remain relevant, then these are some of the attacks that, in fact, African governments and East African governments must look out for. Because what they are trying to do now, at home they have been beaten, they are also fractured, and for them to remain relevant, then they will try to move away from home where they have been contained into cities like Nairobi, where maybe they'll find the securities lapse, or where intelligence services may not have actually taken their threat seriously.
Finally, Sarah, I just wanted to ask you about William Ruto. He's been excused, the Deputy President, he's been excused by the International Criminal Court from his case to travel back to Kenya and deal with the situation. Is he back in the country, and what is his role now?
Well, he came in yesterday and he addressed the nation saying that this will not put the country down, trying to play down the fact that he had been excused by the International Criminal Court to come in. We really don't know if he will have any impact, his return will have any impact, because Uhuru Kenyatta is Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces and he has been here. In fact, we have been told that he is the one who has been coordinating what has been happening. Maybe just what we need to point out is that the Kenyan government is admitting now there indeed there were foreign fighters inside the building. But what we know for sure is that al-Shabaab has been training foreign fighters. Also interesting to note is that the Kenyan government is admitting that one woman, a British national, who has previously been caught traveling on a South African passport, who has been caught traveling on multiple passports, is said to have been inside the building. She is known to be called the White Widow because her husband played a part in the July 7th bombings in London.
Sarah Kamani, thank you very much for that contribution. Of course, Sarah will keep us updated throughout the rest of the day. What is happening? Are there still insurgents in that mall? And of course, how the government will be dealing with it for the rest of the day.